Welcome, dear listener. Tonight, we will take a calm and unhurried journey across the globe, traveling not with our feet, but with our imagination. The world is full of surprising details, hidden curiosities, and cultural treasures that shape the identity of each country. While some of these facts may make you smile, others may open your eyes to the deep connections between geography, history, and human culture. As always, this space is meant to be soothing and comforting. So, allow yourself to relax. Settle into a comfortable position, breathe slowly, and let the pace of these words guide you toward rest. If you enjoy this kind of journey, I gently invite you to like and subscribe, not out of pressure, but only if this content brings you peace. You may also share in the comments your country, city, and the time you're watching. It's always fascinating to see our little global community represented in so many time zones, all connected through curiosity and calm learning. And now, let us begin our gentle trip across countries, moving from fact to fact like waves rolling softly onto a shore. Did you know that Canada, the second largest country in the world, has more lakes than the rest of the countries on Earth combined? This is not an exaggeration. Canada's landscape holds over 2 million lakes. The abundance of fresh water makes the country a global leader in natural resources, while also creating breathtaking travel destinations for those seeking quiet escapes in nature. Many Canadian lakes are so vast they resemble inland seas, with their own climates and coastal wildlife. For visitors, it's not only a geography lesson, but also a luxury of space and tranquility. From Canada, let us drift south to Brazil, a nation whose geography has a story of superlatives. Brazil is home to the Amazon rainforest, which produces about 20% of the world's oxygen. But here's a detail that feels almost unreal. Brazil is so large that it borders every South American country except to Chile and Ecuador. This vastness means Brazil is rich in culture, economy, and biodiversity, making it one of the most fascinating travel destinations in the world. The Amazon River itself, often compared to the Nile, is so powerful that it pushes fresh water out into the Atlantic Ocean for miles, creating a visible difference in the water's color and salinity. If we travel across the Atlantic, we arrive in France, a country often celebrated for its cuisine, luxury, and history. Yet, here is a fun geography fact. France is the only country in the world to have territories in every ocean on Earth, from islands in the Caribbean to faraway territories in the Pacific, Indian Ocean, and even near Antarctica. France's reach makes it a global presence far beyond Europe. For travelers, this means French culture can be experienced in tropical lagoons, as well as in snow-covered landscapes, a unique geographic diversity tied to a single nation. Moving northward, let us pause in the Netherlands, a nation whose existence is a story of resilience against nature. About a third of the country lies below sea level, and much of its land was reclaimed from the sea itself. The Dutch built complex dike systems, canals, and pumps to create habitable land where there was once only water. The name Netherlands itself means low lands, and it's a fitting reminder of how geography, technology, and human determination come together. Today, this expertise has made the Netherlands a leader in water management, exporting its knowledge to other nations vulnerable to climate change and rising sea levels. And then, in contrast, we move to Mongolia, one of the most sparsely populated countries in the world. While nations like the Netherlands carefully manage every kilometer of land, Mongolia offers endless open spaces with fewer than 3 people per square kilometer. Its sweeping steppes and desert landscapes feel almost limitless. For travelers seeking solitude or a return to nature, Mongolia offers a rare luxury: silence, open skies, and untouched beauty. The country's nomadic culture is deeply tied to this geography, where families move with their herds across landscapes that remain largely unchanged for centuries. Our journey now takes us to Australia, the only country that is also a continent. The vast interior, known as the Outback, is sparsely inhabited, leaving its deserts and plains largely untouched. This makes Australia both a hub of modern coastal cities and a place of deep wilderness. Tourists often come for the luxury of Sydney's beaches or Melbourne's cultural life. Yet many leave equally fascinated by the harsh, timeless beauty of the Outback and its indigenous heritage. Crossing the Indian Ocean, we find ourselves in the island nation of Madagascar. Known for its extraordinary biodiversity, about 90% of Madagascar's wildlife cannot be found anywhere else in the world. Lemurs, baobab trees, and countless unique plants make this country a living museum of evolution. For ecotourism, Madagascar is both a treasure and a fragile reminder of how geography and isolation shape life. Let us pause here, taking a slow breath. Already, we have traveled across continents and oceans. From the lakes of Canada to the forests of Brazil, from the islands of France to the deserts of Mongolia. Each country has its own story, its own fact that might seem small on the surface, but reveals so much about culture, economy, nature, and history. In the next part, we will continue our gentle exploration of more surprising facts about the world's countries, each one another brushstroke in the vast portrait of our planet. Let us continue our journey across the world, this time exploring borders and unusual quirks of countries that make geography feel almost magical. Borders are lines on a map, yet many of them are filled with strange stories, surprising shapes, and unexpected cultural intersections. We begin with Lesotho, a small country in southern Africa. What makes Lesotho fascinating is that it is entirely surrounded by just one other country, South Africa. This makes it an enclave nation, one of only a few in the world. Lesotho is also unique for its elevation. Every part of the country lies above 1,400 meters, earning it the nickname, the Kingdom in the Sky. Imagine a country where even the lowest valley is higher than many mountain ranges elsewhere. Its geography defines its culture with cold winters, highland farming, and dramatic mountain scenery. Now let's move north to Italy, home to not one, but two of the world's most famous microstates, Vatican City and San Marino. Vatican City is the world's smallest country, only about 0.2 square miles in size. Yet, within this tiny space lies St. Peter's Basilica, the Sistine Chapel, and one of the most visited tourist destinations in the world. San Marino, on the other hand, claims to be the world's oldest surviving republic, tracing its independence back to the year 301. These countries may be small, but their presence adds fascinating texture to the geography of Europe, showing how history and land intertwine. From Europe, let us drift eastward to Kazakhstan, the world's largest landlocked country. Without access to the sea, Kazakhstan has turned its vast land into economic strength. With resources, agriculture, and cultural diversity. Yet here's a surprising twist. The country has a coastline, not on an ocean, but on the Caspian Sea, which is technically the world's largest lake. For this reason, Kazakhstan is sometimes described as landlocked, but also possessing a seacoast. It's a contradiction that captures how definitions in geography often blur. Speaking of contradictions, let's visit Denmark. At first glance, Denmark seems like a small Scandinavian nation. Yet it has an unexpected geographic surprise. It still holds territory in the form of Greenland, the world's largest island. This connection stretches Denmark's influence far into the Arctic. Greenland is an autonomous territory, but its link to Denmark means the Danish kingdom spans both northern Europe and North America. For travelers, this creates a fascinating cultural mix, Nordic traditions blending with Inuit heritage. Next, we pause in Egypt, where geography and history merge in powerful ways. Most people know Egypt for the Nile River, the lifeline of one of the world's earliest civilizations. But here's something fascinating. Almost the entire population of Egypt, over 100 million people, lives along just 5% of the country's land. That narrow strip hugs the Nile River, while the rest of Egypt is almost entirely desert. This sharp contrast between fertile green land and endless sand is one of the most dramatic examples of geography shaping human settlement. From Egypt, let's move eastward to Bhutan, a small Himalayan kingdom that measures success in an unusual way. Instead of focusing solely on economic growth, Bhutan famously tracks its progress through gross national happiness. This is not just a slogan, but a guiding principle in government, balancing development with environmental preservation and cultural well-being. Geographically, Bhutan is also extraordinary. About 70% of its land is covered by forests, and its location between India and China gives it a unique cultural blend. Bhutan's choice to prioritize happiness over wealth has become a lesson for the modern world in how geography, culture, and governance can be deeply intertwined. Let us now visit Bolivia, one of only 2 landlocked countries in South America. Yet Bolivia proudly maintains a navy, even without access to the ocean. Why? Because the country once had a coastline along the Pacific, lost during a war in the late 1800s. Today, Bolivia trains naval forces on its Great Lake, Titicaca, the highest navigable lake in the world. This symbolic navy represents the nation's ongoing connection to the sea it no longer possesses. Crossing the Pacific Ocean, we arrive at Kiribati, a country made up of 33 atolls and islands scattered across a vast area of the Pacific. Here is a fact that feels almost unreal. Kiribati is the only country in the world that lies in all 4 hemispheres, north, east, and west. Its islands are spread so widely across the globe that they cross both the equator and the international date line. This means that Kiribati is one of the very first places on Earth to greet the new year. Yet, it also faces one of the greatest threats from climate change, with rising seas endangering its fragile islands. Finally, let us pause in Switzerland, a nation famous for neutrality. Yet this small country, nestled among mountains, has an almost surreal military detail. Every able-bodied man in Switzerland is part of the reserve, and every home may have access to a fallout shelter. Combined, Switzerland has enough shelter space for its entire population, something unique in the world. This quiet preparedness is a reflection of how geography, surrounded by powerful neighbors, shaped the country's culture of self-reliance and cautious planning. Borders, enclaves, isolated islands, and highland kingdoms all. These stories remind us that geography is never just about lines on a map. It's about human stories, resilience, and the ways land shapes nations. In the next part, we'll explore some truly bizarre natural wonders hidden within countries. Landscapes so strange, they sound almost like myths. As we continue our slow and calming journey, let us wander into landscapes so unusual that they seem to have been drawn from imagination rather than reality. These natural wonders remind us that Earth is far more creative than we can ever be. We begin in Turkey, where the region of Cappadocia reveals landscapes shaped by volcanic eruptions and erosion. Over time, soft volcanic rock called tuff has been carved by wind and water into towering pillars and mushroom-like formations known as fairy chimneys. For thousands of years, people have hollowed out these rock structures to create homes, monasteries, and even entire underground cities. Walking here feels like stepping into a dreamscape where nature and human history are inseparably connected. Today, the region is famous for its hot air balloon rides, where travelers drift above these surreal formations at sunrise, watching light dance across the stone. From Turkey, let us move to the Danakil Depression in Ethiopia, one of the most otherworldly places on Earth, lying more than 100 meters below sea level. It is one of the hottest and driest places on the planet. Yet, within this seemingly inhospitable land lies a colorful spectacle: acidic hot springs, neon pools, and salt flats glowing in shades of green, yellow, and red. The landscape looks alien, so much so that scientists compare it to Mars. Despite its extreme conditions, life persists, reminding us of the resilience of both Earth and its organisms. Now, let's cross into South America, where Bolivia once again surprises us. The Salar de Uyuni is the world's largest salt flat, stretching across more than 10,000 square kilometers. In the dry season, it looks like a white desert, an endless sheet of salt that seems to merge with the horizon. But during the rainy season, a thin layer of water transforms it into a perfect mirror of the sky. The result is breathtaking walking across. It feels like walking on the clouds. Salar de Uyuni is also a vital resource, containing one of the largest reserves of lithium, a key element for modern batteries. Thus, this magical landscape also plays a role in the global economy. From South America, let's drift to China, where the Zhangje Dangsha landform appears like a painting come to life. These rainbow-colored mountains are made of sandstone and minerals layered over millions of years, then uplifted and eroded to reveal vibrant stripes of red, orange, yellow, and green. When the sun sets or rises, the colors glow even brighter, creating a scene so striking it hardly feels real. Tourists come from across the world to witness this wonder, and it shows how geography can blend science with art. Heading north to Iceland, we encounter the midnight sun and the aurora borealis, two natural wonders tied to Earth's tilt and location. In summer, the sun never fully sets, bathing the land in constant golden light. In winter, the skies erupt in green and purple lights, dancing across the horizon. Both of these phenomena are reminders of how Earth's position in space affects the rhythms of life. Iceland's dramatic volcanoes, glaciers, and geysers only add to the sense of being in a world both ancient and alive. Another surreal place lies in Tanzania, the red waters of Lake Natron. This alkaline lake is so caustic that it can calcify animals that fall into it, turning them into eerie, statue-like forms. Yet, the lake is also a place of life. It is one of the main breeding grounds for flamingos, whose vibrant pink feathers contrast strikingly with the crimson waters. The lake is both deadly and nurturing, a paradox that makes it one of Earth's most fascinating environments. Let us now journey to Australia, home to Uluru, also known as Ayers Rock, rising dramatically from the flat desert. This giant sandstone monolith is sacred to the indigenous Anangu people. At sunrise and sunset, Uluru shifts colors, glowing from deep red to orange and even purple. Scientists say this effect comes from the rock's mineral composition, but standing before it, many describe a spiritual presence, as if the land itself is alive. Uluru represents not only geological wonder, but also deep cultural connection, reminding us that landscapes are not just physical, but also emotional and sacred. We cannot speak of strange landscapes without mentioning Antarctica's Bloodfalls. Here, a stream of bright red water flows from beneath a glacier, staining the ice. At first glance, it looks like blood on snow. In reality, the red color comes from iron-rich water that oxidizes when it meets air. This eerie sight demonstrates how even in Earth's coldest deserts, life and movement persist, hidden deep below. Next, let us pause in Madagascar, where the Tsingy de Bimaraha National Park presents a forest of stone. The word Tsingy means where one cannot walk barefoot, and indeed, the jagged limestone pinnacles create a maze of razor-sharp rock towers. Between these stone spires live unique species found nowhere else in the world. The landscape looks unearthly, yet it is home to life that has adapted over millions of years. Finally, we drift to Mexico, where the Cave of Crystals lies hidden beneath the desert of Chihuahua. Inside this cavern are some of the largest crystals ever discovered, some as long as 12 meters. The cave is incredibly hot and humid, making it nearly impossible to stay inside for more than a few minutes without protection. These colossal crystals, formed over hundreds of thousands of years, look like something from a fantasy novel. Yet they are part of the real and mysterious earth beneath our feet. Each of these natural wonders shows us that geography is more than mountains and rivers. It is imagination made real. They remind us that Earth itself is a living gallery of shapes, colors, and forces. In the next part, we will turn from landscapes to cultures, exploring how countries around the world preserve traditions tied deeply to their geography. As we move forward in this soothing journey, let us leave behind the raw beauty of nature and step gently into the human world. For geography is not only about mountains, rivers, and deserts, it is also about the people who live among them, who adapt to them, and who, in turn, are shaped by them. Around the world, countless traditions, cuisines, ways of life can be traced directly back to the landscapes that surround them. Let us begin in Japan, a nation where mountains dominate nearly 3/4 of the land. Because fertile plains are limited, communities long ago learned to terrace hillsides to grow rice. These shining steps of green reflect the ingenuity of adapting to geography. Rice itself became more than food, grew into a cultural foundation, woven into festivals, traditions, and even religion. The Japanese tea ceremony, for example, has deep connections to rice agriculture. Since the practice of cultivating, harvesting, and preparing food shaped values of patience, respect, and harmony. Mountains isolated regions for centuries. 2. Allowing unique dialects and customs to flourish side by side within a relatively small country. From Japan, let us drift west to the Himalayan kingdom of Bhutan. High among snow-capped peaks, the Bhutanese people created a philosophy known as gross national happiness, which prioritizes well-being over material wealth. In such a remote environment, where luxury is rare and survival depends on cooperation, a culture of mindfulness and balance developed. Prayer flags flutter in mountain winds, their colors representing compassion and peace. Every element here, from the architecture of monasteries perched on cliffs to the daily rituals of tending yak herds, is influenced by geography. Far to the north, the people of Scandinavia also reveal how land and lifestyle intertwine. Living within the Arctic Circle, they traditionally herd reindeer across vast tundras. Following the animals' migrations through seasons of snow and midnight sun, the developed clothing from reindeer hide, music that mimics the rhythms of nature, and a deep respect for the fragile environment. Even today, as modern tourism and luxury travel enter these regions, culture continues to remind us of the importance of harmony with the land. Now, let us cross oceans to the Pacific Islands. On small atolls scattered across the vast blue, geography taught people the art of navigation without maps. Ancient Polynesians traveled thousands of kilometers across open water, guided only by stars, waves, and birds. Their knowledge of astronomy and ocean currents was so advanced that it rivaled modern technology. Today, many Polynesian communities are reviving these traditions, sailing once again on double-hulled canoes to honor their ancestors. The Pacific reminds us that human culture can thrive even in places where resources are limited, provided knowledge is deep and passed from generation. Next, we visit Peru, where the Inca Empire rose within the rugged Andes. Geography forced creativity here. The Incas built vast networks of stone roads, terraces, and aqueducts that remain marvels of engineering. Machu Picchu, perched high above the Urubamba Valley, is more than a historical site, is a living dialogue between people and mountains. Crops like potatoes and quinoa, still staples today, were adapted to survive at high altitudes. Even the social organization of the empire was influenced by geography, with regions divided by altitude, from highland llamas to coastal fishing villages. Moving into Africa, let us pause in Mali, where the legendary city of Timbuktu rose as a center of learning and trade. Geography placed it along trans-Saharan trade routes, where camel caravans carried gold, salt, and manuscripts. The desert may seem empty, but its vastness created connections between cultures of North Africa, the Middle East, and beyond. Today, Timbuktu still symbolizes the power of geography to create hubs of wealth, knowledge, and culture in unlikely places. Across the Atlantic, let us look at the influence of geography in the Caribbean. Islands like Jamaica, Cuba, and the Dominican Republic became cultural crossroads because of their location. Their mountains and fertile soils made them ideal for sugarcane and coffee, while their coasts opened to trade and migration. Out of this history came vibrant cultures blending African, European, and indigenous traditions. Music such as reggae and salsa is not just entertainment, it reflects the island geography, rhythms of the sea, and the movement of peoples across centuries. Let us now wander north into Europe, where the Netherlands reveals another side of the story. Much of the country lies below sea level, yet instead of being defeated by geography, the Dutch reshaped it. Through windmills, dikes, and canals, they created land where none existed. This struggle with water fostered a culture of cooperation and innovation. Even today, Dutch cities blend history with modern technology, offering lessons in how societies adapt to natural challenges while also creating spaces of luxury, art, and travel admired worldwide. From water to desert, we turn now to the Tuareg people of the Sahara, often called the Blue People because of their indigo clothing. The Tuareg developed traditions suited to one of the harshest environments on Earth. Their nomadic lifestyle revolves around guiding caravans, trading salt, and navigating by stars. The Sahara's vast silence shaped their poetry and music, giving voice to landscapes where survival itself is an art form. Finally, let us close this part with a journey to Mongolia, where wide grasslands stretch to the horizon. Here, nomadic herding defines life. Horses are central, not only as transportation, but also as companions celebrated in festivals and songs. The geography of endless steppe created a culture of freedom and resilience. Even today, with modern cities rising, many families still move with the seasons, carrying centuries of tradition into the present. What each of these examples shows us is that culture cannot be separated from geography. The land we inhabit shapes what we eat, how we travel, what we celebrate, and even what we believe. To understand countries, one must first understand their landscapes. In the next part, we will shift toward unusual borders and country shapes, where geography creates some of the strangest and most surprising lines drawn across our world. As we ease into this next chapter of our geography's journey, let us turn our attention to something that often appears simple on a map, but, upon closer inspection, holds layers of intrigue and history. Borders. Lines drawn across the globe may look clean and precise, but in reality, they are often strange, winding, and shaped by centuries of negotiation, conflict, geography, and chance. Consider the curious case of Lesotho, a country entirely surrounded by another, South Africa. This makes it what geographers call an enclave state. Lesotho's mountainous terrain made it difficult for larger empires to conquer, allowing it to retain independence. Today, its highlands feed rivers that are essential not only for its own people, but also for South Africa's economy. This example reveals how borders can turn a landlocked country into a water powerhouse, where natural geography provides influence beyond its size. Now, let us drift northward to Europe, where we encounter Barlhotog in Belgium and Bar-Lassau in the Netherlands. Here, the border zigzags in the strangest of ways, creating enclaves. Streets, homes, and even cafes are divided between two countries. A single house may have its front door in Belgium and its kitchen in the Netherlands. Residents decide their nationality by which side of the border their front door faces. This unusual arrangement has become a point of fascination for travelers, where culture, quite literally, shifts from one street to the next. Further east, in Central Asia, we find one of the most complex border regions in the world, the Fergana Valley, shared by Uzbekistan, Kyrgyzstan, and Tajikistan. This fertile valley was divided during the Soviet era without much regard for geography or culture. Today, the borders create enclaves where one country's village is surrounded by another's territory. The situation often complicates trade and travel. Yet it also highlights how artificial borders contrast with natural unity, since the valley itself is a single geographic entity. On the other side of the globe, let us look at Alaska. While it belongs to the United States, its separation by Canada creates a unique situation where road travel requires crossing an international boundary. Interestingly, Alaska also hosts the Diomede Islands. On one island, it may be Tuesday, while on the other, just across the frozen Bering Strait, it is already Wednesday. Geography and time collide here, offering a surreal view of how borders shape not only space, but also time itself. Let us now turn to Africa once more, to Gambia. This narrow country snakes along the Gambia River, almost entirely surrounded by Senegal, except for its small Atlantic coastline. Its unusual shape reflects colonial history, as European powers once carved up territories along rivers. Yet, this geography has created both challenges and opportunities. The river provides fertile soils and fishing resources, while its small size and unique borders attract curious travelers eager to see a country unlike any other. Moving into the Middle East, Jordan and Israel share one of the world's most remarkable natural borders, the Jordan River and the Dead Sea. The Dead Sea itself is the lowest point on Earth's surface, and its shrinking waters now form new shorelines each year. Here, geography is not just about lines drawn between nations, but about how nature itself shifts borders over time. The mineral-rich waters have also created a tourism economy, where travelers from across the globe float on the salty surface in search of relaxation and health. Another fascinating border can be found in Canada and the United States, where Machias Seal Island is claimed by both nations. Despite its tiny size, the island holds symbolic significance, and its sovereignty remains unresolved. Interestingly, both countries maintain lighthouses there, a quiet reminder of how even small dots on a map can carry outsized importance. Closer to Asia, let us examine Kaliningrad, a Russian exclave wedged between Poland and Lithuania along the Baltic Sea. It is geographically separated from Russia's main territory, yet strategically important due to its port. Kaliningrad illustrates how history and geography intertwine. As this land changed hands multiple times before becoming part of Russia after World War II, today it remains a geopolitical curiosity surrounded by the European Union but governed by Moscow. In South America, the borders of Chile stand out as extraordinary. The country stretches for over 4,300 kilometers along the Pacific coast, but averages only about 177 kilometers in width. This ribbon-like shape encompasses deserts, fertile valleys, bustling cities, and icy glaciers. Chile's length allows it to host nearly every climate on Earth. From the world's driest desert, the Atacama, the frozen landscapes of Patagonia. Geography here creates not just an unusual shape, but also a remarkable diversity of nature, culture, and economy within one nation. We cannot forget the peculiar border between Egypt and Sudan, where a triangle of land known as Bur Tal is claimed by neither country. This uninhabited desert on Earth without formal sovereignty. Its existence results from a cartographic quirk, yet it sparks the imagination of explorers, adventurers, and travelers intrigued by the idea of a land that no nation governs. As we pause here, surrounded by winding lines and curious enclaves, we see how borders, while human inventions, are deeply influenced by geography, history, and sometimes sheer coincidence. They shape how countries interact, how people travel, and how cultures evolve. In the next part, we'll explore cities and capitals with surprising stories, urban places that defy expectations and reveal the creativity of human settlements around the world. As we leave behind the curious lines of borders, we now step into the vibrant heartbeats of nations, their cities. Some are sprawling metropolises filled with millions, while others are tiny capitals that feel more like villages. Geography, history, and culture often come together in fascinating ways to shape these urban centers, making them as surprising as they are significant. Let us begin with Nauru, the world's smallest island country in the Pacific Ocean. Unlike almost every other nation, Nauru has no official capital city. Government offices are located in the district of Yaran, but it is not officially recognized as a capital. This makes Nauru unique, a country functioning without the symbolic heart that most nations hold so dearly. For travelers and geography enthusiasts, it raises a curious question. Can a country truly exist without a capital? The answer is yes, and Nauru proves it daily. Now consider Kazakhstan, where the capital was moved in 1997 from the historic city of Almaty to a purpose-built city in the steppe, now known as Astana. Klida, renamed Nur-Sultan, and then back to Astana. This modern capital rises from the flat grasslands in glittering skyscrapers and futuristic architecture. It symbolizes not only political ambition, but also how geography can be reshaped to suit economic and cultural goals. For visitors, Astana offers a mix of luxury hotels, unique architecture, and a glimpse into how cities can be constructed almost from scratch. On the other side of the world lies La Paz, Bolivia. At over 3,600 meters above sea level, it is the highest administrative capital in the world. Nestled within a deep canyon, the city sprawls upward onto surrounding plateaus. The altitude shapes everything from the health of its residents to its transportation system. Cable cars crisscross the sky, providing breathtaking views and connecting neighborhoods in ways that traditional buses cannot. Tourism thrives here as visitors marvel at both the natural setting and the ingenuity of building a capital in such extreme geography. Meanwhile, in Africa, Nigeria offers another striking example. Its capital was once Lagos, a bustling coastal city. But in 1991, the government moved it inland to Abuja. The reason was partly geographic. Abuja is centrally located and less congested, making it accessible to more of the population. But it was also symbolic, a way of uniting a diverse nation by creating a neutral capital away from ethnic and regional divides. Today, Abuja is a city of modern architecture, wide boulevards, and a growing role in Africa's economy. In Europe, one of the most fascinating capital choices is Vaduz, the capital of Liechtenstein. Despite being a capital city, Vaduz feels more like a small town with fewer than 6,000 residents. Yet it holds immense cultural and economic importance. With banks, museums, and the iconic Vaduz Castle overlooking the Rhine Valley. This blend of simplicity and prestige draws curious travelers, demonstrating that a capital need not be large to hold significance. Let us not forget that some capitals have shifted multiple times in history. Brazil's is another striking example of planned urban design. Built in the 1960s in the country's interior, it replaced Rio de Janeiro as the capital. Its layout resembles an airplane or bird when seen from above, a product of meticulous planning. UNESCO has even declared the city a World Heritage Site due to its unique architecture. Highlights how geography, culture, and vision can converge to create a city unlike any other. Now, let us move to Asia, where Mongolia's capital, Ulaanbaatar, experiences some of the harshest winters of any major city. Temperatures can drop below -30 degrees Celsius. Yet, despite the extreme cold, the city thrives as a hub of culture and history, blending nomadic traditions with modern development. The geography surrounding its vast steppes, mountains, and desert shapes not only the lifestyle of its people, but also the resilience of the city itself. Another surprising capital is Iceland. Though it is a small city by global standards, it holds the distinction of being the northernmost capital of a sovereign nation. Its location makes it a center for geothermal energy, where natural hot springs and volcanic heat provide much of the city's power. This sustainable approach has placed on the map as a model for eco-friendly urban living, attracting global interest in education, tourism, and renewable technology. And then there are capitals hidden in plain sight, almost forgotten in their smallness. Take Funafuti, the capital of Tuvalu, one of the world's smallest countries. With a population, it is more of a quiet atoll than a bustling city. The runway of its small airstrip is so central to life that it doubles as a playground and gathering space when no planes are scheduled. For many travelers, Funafuti represents the ultimate escape from the rush of modern life, a place where geography and simplicity blend seamlessly. Perhaps one of the most surprising capitals is Luxembourg City. While Luxembourg is one of Europe's smallest countries, its capital has grown into a hub of finance and luxury. The city is built atop cliffs and deep valleys, a fortress-like setting that once made it nearly impenetrable. Today, this unique geography adds charm, with bridges and viaducts connecting neighborhoods perched at different heights. Tourism, culture, and international business converge in this small but globally influential capital. From high-altitude canyons to frozen tundra, from cities built in deserts to those carved into river valleys, the world's capitals reveal how humans adapt to geography and, in turn, how geography influences our decisions. Some capitals are sprawling and modern, others are small and modest. But all are fascinating reminders that the story of nations often begins in their cities. In the next part, we will leave the capitals behind and journey toward natural wonders, striking geographical features that exist beyond politics and human planning, shaping entire cultures and economies simply by being extraordinary. As we shift away from capitals and cities, our attention turns to the natural stage on which history unfolds. Mountains, lakes, deserts, and waterfalls have long shaped economies, tourism, and even cultural identities. These natural wonders are not only breathtaking, they are powerful reminders of how geography defines the spirit of nations. Let us begin with Mount Everest, the tallest mountain in the world. Straddling the border between Nepal and China's Tibet Autonomous Region. Rising 8,848 meters above sea level, it is often considered the ultimate symbol of endurance. Yet, the mountain's geography has more than spiritual or adventurous significance, drives entire economies. Nepal, in particular, relies heavily on tourism associated with Everest. Treks, climbing permits, and luxury expeditions bring millions of dollars into the country. At the same time, Everest highlights the risks of overtourism, as the environment and the health of Sherpa communities are affected by the influx of climbers. From the mountains, let us descend into the heart of Africa to Lake Victoria. Shared by Tanzania, Uganda, and Kenya, it is the largest tropical lake in the world. Its waters support tens of millions of people, serving as a critical source of fishing, transportation, and culture. Yet, it is also an example of how human activity can transform nature. The introduction of a Nile perch in the 20th century, meant to boost the fishing economy, disrupted the lake's ecosystem. It reminds us of the delicate balance between nature's gifts and human intervention. Meanwhile, in South America, the Amazon rainforest spreads across 9 countries, but its largest share lies within Brazil. This vast expanse of life is sometimes called the lungs of the earth for its role in producing oxygen and absorbing carbon dioxide. Beyond its ecological role, the Amazon is also a place of mystery and culture. Indigenous communities thrive here, holding deep knowledge of the land, plants, and rivers. For travelers, it is both a natural luxury and a lesson in humility. For the Amazon is as fragile as it is immense. Let us turn next to Australia, where Uluru, also known as Ayers Rock, rises like a fiery monolith from the desert. This sandstone formation holds deep cultural and spiritual meaning for the Anangu people, the traditional custodians of the land. For decades, climbing Uluru was a tourist attraction, but in recent years, it has been closed out of respect for its sacred value. This shift illustrates how geography, culture, and tourism can find balance when respect is prioritized. Visitors still flock to Uluru to watch it glow red during sunrise and sunset, a spectacle of nature that feels almost otherworldly. Now, imagine a place where waterfalls stretch so wide that they seem endless. Victoria Falls, straddling Zimbabwe and Zambia, is one of the most magnificent natural spectacles on Earth. Locally known as the smoke that thunders, its mist can be seen for kilometers, and its roar is almost hypnotic. It not only attracts tourists from around the globe, but also fuels regional economies with hydroelectric power. The falls embody how a single geographic feature can be both a source of beauty and a pillar of modern development. In North America, we find the Grand Canyon in the United States, carved by the Colorado River over millions of years. Its sheer scale is humbling. 446 kilometers long, 29 kilometers wide at its broadest, and over 1,800 meters deep. Tourists travel from across the globe to gaze into its vastness. Yet, the Grand Canyon is more than a tourist site. It is a window into Earth's geological history. Its colorful layers telling a story that stretches back nearly 2 billion years. To wander here is to walk through time itself. From deserts and canyons, let us travel north to Iceland, where nature writes its own dramatic poetry. The island sits atop the mid-Atlantic ridge, where tectonic plates are pulling apart. This creates a land of fire and ice, glaciers, volcanoes, geysers, and hot springs all coexist in a single small country. Visitors often travel to witness the northern lights or soak in the Blue Lagoon, a geothermal spa. Iceland's geography does more than attract tourists. It fuels an entire economy built on clean energy, as geothermal and hydroelectric sources provide nearly all of the nation's power. Far to the east, in China, we encounter Zhangjiajie National Forest Park with its towering sandstone pillars. These surreal landscapes are said to have inspired the floating mountains in the film Avatar. The park is a magnet for tourism, drawing millions each year who marvel at landscapes that appear to belong to another planet. It reminds us that sometimes nature itself surpasses the imagination of artists. Africa holds another gem in the Sahara Desert, the largest hot desert in the world, covering an area nearly the size of China. Its sand dunes, oases, and rocky plateaus have shaped civilizations for thousands of years. Ancient trade routes once crossed these harsh expanses, linking economies across Africa and the Middle East. Today, the Sahara still influences culture, economy, and tourism, offering both challenges and opportunities for the nations it spans. Let us not overlook Europe's Alps, a mountain range stretching across 8 countries. Beyond their breathtaking beauty, the Alps are a hub for winter sports, tourism, luxury resorts, and cultural traditions. From Swiss chocolate and fondue to Austrian music festivals and French alpine villages, the mountains are as much about culture as they are about geography. For travelers, the Alps embody a fusion of natural wonder, human culture, and luxury. Each of these wonders, whether a desert, a canyon, a waterfall, or a mountain reminds us that geography is not just a backdrop to human life. It is an active force shaping economies, cultures, and histories. In the next part, we will explore borders that defy expectations, lines on the map that are as strange as they are fascinating. Borders are among the most curious features of geography. On maps, they appear as neat lines dividing nations. Yet, in reality, many of them are far from simple. Some are drawn by rivers or mountains, others by history or conflict, and some are so strange that they seem almost accidental. Let us wander along these peculiar frontiers and discover the stories they tell. One of the most unusual borders can be found in the town of Barel, straddling Belgium and the Netherlands. Here, the international boundary weaves through houses, shops, and streets. Some buildings are literally split in half, with one entrance in Belgium and another in the Netherlands. To add to the intrigue, small brass markers embedded in the ground show precisely where the border passes. Tourists flock to Barel to marvel at this patchwork of enclaves and exclaves, where a single step can take you from one country to another. Another fascinating border lies between Norway and Russia. In the snowy wilderness of the far north, a narrow river separates the two nations. Visitors are not allowed to cross the river except at an official checkpoint, but people on either side often wave to each other across the water. It is a quiet, remote place where international politics meets the stillness of nature. In Africa, the border between Egypt and Sudan features one of the world's strangest anomalies, Bir Tal, a small patch of unclaimed desert. This area, about 2,060 square kilometers, is not claimed by either country due to a quirk in how colonial powers once drew the boundary. Bir Tal is sometimes called the no man's land of the world, a rare place on Earth where no nation holds sovereignty. Adventurers and curious travelers sometimes dream of declaring their own kingdom there, though in reality, the land is harsh and inhospitable. Meanwhile, the island of Diomede in the Bering Strait presents another extraordinary situation. Big Diomede belongs to Russia, while Little Diomede belongs to the United States. The two islands are only about 3.8 kilometers apart, yet they are separated not only by national boundaries, but also by the international dateline. This means that when it is Sunday morning on Little Diomede, it is already Monday morning on Big Diomede. The islands are sometimes called Tomorrow Island and Yesterday Island, highlighting how geography can bend our sense of time. In South America, the border between Argentina, Brazil, and Paraguay is marked by the Triple Frontier, where three rivers meet. This unique location is both a tourist attraction and an economic hub, drawing visitors who marvel at standing within sight of three countries at once. The area is also a vivid example of how natural features like rivers shape the flow of culture, trade, and even migration. Closer to Europe, we find Lake Constance, which borders Germany, Austria, and Switzerland. Yet there is an unusual detail here. The exact borders within the lake have never been officially agreed upon. While the surrounding land has clearly defined boundaries, the waters themselves exist in a kind of legal ambiguity. This has not led to conflict, but rather to a peaceful coexistence. as the nations surrounding the lake share its resources and tourism opportunities. One of the most curious urban borders exists in Nicosia, the capital of Cyprus. It is the last divided capital in Europe, with a buffer zone patrolled by the United Nations separating the northern and southern parts of the city. Walking through Nicosia, one encounters checkpoints and areas where the old city walls intersect with modern life. A powerful reminder of how geography and politics intertwine in complex ways. And then there is Mount Everest, which we visited earlier for its grandeur. But Everest also serves as a natural border, separating Nepal from Tibet. Climbers often start from Nepal, but others approach from the Chinese side. The mountain itself is a geographic guardian, defining national frontiers while towering above human disputes. Borders also exist in the sea. The maritime boundary between Spain and Morocco, for instance, is punctuated by the Spanish enclaves of Ceuta and Melilla on the African coast. These cities are officially part of Spain, making them part of the European Union. Yet, they sit geographically on African soil. This unusual arrangement has created both cultural exchanges and geopolitical challenges, with the enclaves serving as bridges between continents. Sometimes, borders can be playful. Between the United States and Canada lies the Peace Arch, a monument erected in 1921 to celebrate more than a century of peace between the two countries. The arch sits precisely on the border between British Columbia and Washington State. Visitors can walk freely in the park surrounding the arch, symbolizing a rare place where international boundaries encourage unity rather than division. Each of these borders tells a different story of history, colonization, cooperation, and human imagination. Some are sharp divides, while others blur into one another. Together, they remind us that geography is not only about mountains and rivers, but also about how people decide to draw lines upon the earth. In the next part, we will journey to islands, those isolated yet fascinating worlds that often hold some of the strangest geography of all. Islands often feel like tiny worlds unto themselves, surrounded by water, cut off from the mainland. They develop unique landscapes, cultures, and sometimes stories so strange they sound like fiction. Tonight, let us sail across the oceans and explore some of the most curious and mysterious islands on Earth. One of the most extraordinary islands is Socotra, located in the Arabian Sea and belonging to Yemen, often called the of the Indian Ocean. Socotra is home to plants and animals found nowhere else on Earth. Its most famous tree is the dragon's blood tree, with a broad umbrella-shaped crown and red sap that has been valued since ancient times. Walking through Socotra feels like stepping onto an alien planet, with landscapes so unusual that they often leave visitors speechless. Another fascinating island is Tristan da Cunha in the South Atlantic Ocean. It is known as the most remote inhabited archipelago in the world, home to fewer than 300 people. Tristan da Cunha is over 2,400 kilometers away from the nearest mainland. Supplies arrive only a handful of times a year by boat, and the island has no airport. Life here moves at a slow rhythm, untouched by the rush of modern tourism or urban expansion. For those who dream of isolation and simplicity, Tristan da Cunha is a living example of how people adapt to extreme remoteness. Japan offers us an equally curious island, Aokashima. This volcanic island is shaped like a giant bowl within a bowl. Its central crater forms a small, green caldera inside the larger island, making it appear as though the island has a secret world hidden within. Aokashima is home to a tiny community who live surrounded by lush landscapes and volcanic steam vents. Despite its isolation, modern ferries and helicopters connect it to Tokyo, blending ancient volcanic power with modern convenience. Easter Island, or Rapa Nui, is another island wrapped in mystery. Located far off the coast of Chile, it is famous for its colossal stone statues called moai. These statues, some weighing more than 80 tons, were carved centuries ago by the island's Polynesian inhabitants. Their purpose remains debated. Were they built to honor ancestors, to display power, or as spiritual guardians? Standing in silent rows, the moai embody both human creativity and the mysteries of forgotten traditions. In Canada, there lies Devon Island, the largest uninhabited island in the world. Located in the Arctic archipelago, it is a barren land of rock, ice, and permafrost. Scientists call it Mars on Earth because its harsh conditions resemble those of the red planet. NASA has even used Devon Island as a testing ground for future Mars missions. It is a place where nature's extremes leave the land untouched by permanent human settlement, showing how isolation and cold can shape geography. Moving south to the Indian Ocean, we encounter North Sentinel Island in the Andaman Islands of India. This island is home to the Sentinelese people, one of the last uncontacted tribes on Earth. The government of India has prohibited outsiders from approaching the island in order to protect the tribe's way of life and prevent exposure to modern diseases. From a distance, the dense forests and sandy shores appear idyllic. But the island holds a deep reminder. Some corners of our world are still entirely separate from globalization, living much as humans did thousands of years ago. Another curious place is Surtsey, a volcanic island off the coast of Iceland. Unlike most islands, Surtsey was not known to ancient explorers or mapped by old cartographers. Instead, it emerged suddenly in 1963, when a volcanic eruption beneath the sea created new land. Scientists have carefully studied Surtsey ever since, treating it as a natural laboratory. Here, they have observed how life colonizes new, land-first mosses, then insects, then birds. It is one of the rare places on Earth where humans can watch the birth of an ecosystem in real time. In the Philippines, we find Vulcan Point, an island within a lake, on an island within a lake, on an island. This dizzying chain of land and water begins with Luzon, the largest island in the Philippines. On Luzon lies Lake Taal, inside which sits Volcano Island. Within Volcano Island lies another crater lake, and in that lake rests Vulcan Point, a small island. Few places on Earth layer geography so playfully, making Vulcan Point one of the world's most recursive islands. Another enchanting island is Palu's Jellyfish Lake, located in the Pacific island nation of Palau. This small marine lake is filled with millions of golden jellyfish. Yet, unlike most jellyfish, these have lost their stingers over time, making it possible for swimmers to float peacefully among them. Surrounded by shimmering creatures, drifting with the sunlight, it feels like entering a dream. And then there is Bouvet Island, often described as the most remote island in the world. Belonging to Norway, it lies in the South Atlantic Ocean, cloaked in glaciers and battered by harsh winds. No permanent residents live here, and it is accessible only by ship under calm conditions, which are rare. Its lonely landscape reminds us that even in the modern age of airplanes and satellites, Earth still has corners where human footprints are fleeting. Islands like these reveal geography at its most playful and mysterious. They are isolated worlds, filled with plants, animals, and human histories that unfold differently than on the mainland. Each island has its own rhythm, its own story, and its own sense of wonder. In the next part, we will leave the islands behind and climb into the skies, exploring some of the highest, strangest, and most extreme elevations on our planet. Mountains and high-altitude landscapes are some of the most awe-inspiring environments on Earth. They are places where human culture, natural wonders, and extreme survival all come together. Tonight, let us ascend into these towering elevations and explore some of the most remarkable facts about high places around the world. We begin with Mount Everest, the highest peak on Earth, reaching 8,848 meters above sea level. Known in Nepal as Sagarmatha and in Tibet as Chomolungma, it is more than a mountain. It is a symbol of challenge, endurance, and human ambition. Each year, climbers from across the world attempt to reach its summit, enduring bitter cold, thin air, and dangerous avalanches. But while Everest is the tallest mountain above sea level, it is not technically the tallest from base to summit. That honor belongs to Mauna Kea in Hawaii, which rises over 10,000 meters from its base on the ocean floor, though much of it is hidden beneath the Pacific waters. High-altitude cities also provide remarkable insights into human adaptation. La Paz, Bolivia, sits at about 3,650 meters above sea level, making it the highest capital city in the world. Daily life here unfolds in the thin air of the Andes, where even walking uphill can leave visitors breathless. Yet for locals, generations of adaptation have made life in this elevated city a normal rhythm. Cable cars connect neighborhoods across steep valleys, offering both transportation and stunning views of snow-capped peaks. Another unusual highland city is El Alto, located just above La Paz at over 4,000 meters. Here, the combination of indigenous traditions, colorful markets, and striking altitude makes the city one of the most vibrant in South America. Together, La Paz and El Alto form a rare example of a sprawling metropolis in the sky. In Africa, Mount Kilimanjaro stands as a natural wonder. Rising 5,895 meters above sea level, it is the highest mountain on the continent. Kilimanjaro is especially remarkable because it is a freestanding mountain, rising alone from the plains of Tanzania, rather than being part of a larger range. Its snow-capped peak contrasts dramatically with the surrounding savanna, creating one of the most iconic landscapes in Africa. Despite its equatorial location, glaciers crown its summit, though these are shrinking rapidly due to climate change. Kilimanjaro is both a natural treasure and a reminder of the fragile balance of our environment. The The Tibetan Plateau, often called the roof of the world, is another extreme elevation worth exploring. At an average altitude of 4,500 meters, it is the highest and largest plateau on Earth, stretching across Tibet, western China, and into India. It influences not only local cultures but also global climate patterns. The plateau acts like a giant heat engine, driving monsoon systems that bring rain to much of Asia. For the people who live here, such as Tibetan herders, daily life is shaped by both the harsh climate and the deep spirituality that pervades high-altitude living. In South America, the Andes Mountains stretch for over 7,000 kilometers. Within the Andes lies Mount Aconcagua, the tallest peak in the southern hemisphere, at 6,961 meters. The Andes are not only remarkable for their height, but also for their role in shaping ancient civilizations. The Inca Empire flourished here, building cities like Machu Picchu on ridges that seem to float among the clouds. Even today, the Andes support millions of people, offering fertile valleys, rich mineral resources, and cultural traditions that stretch back centuries. We must also mention Denali in Alaska, formerly known as Mount McKinley. Rising 6,190 meters, it is the tallest mountain in North America. Denali's sheer vertical rise from base to summit is among the greatest in the world, making it appear even more imposing than some taller peaks. The mountain is sacred to the indigenous Koyukon Athabascans, who gave it the name Denali, meaning the High One. Covered in glaciers and surrounded by wilderness, Denali is a reminder of North America's untamed grandeur. But extreme elevations are not limited to mountains. The highest navigable lake in the world is Lake Titicaca, on the border of Peru and Bolivia, sitting at about 3,812 meters above sea level. It is not only a natural wonder, but also a cultural one. According to Inca mythology, Lake Titicaca was the birthplace of the first Inca king. The lake's floating islands, made entirely of reeds, are still home to the Uros people who maintain traditions passed down for generations. And then there is the other extreme, the lowest point on land, the shoreline of the Dead Sea, bordered by Jordan, Israel, and Palestine, lies more than 400 meters below sea level, making it the lowest exposed point on Earth's surface. The Dead Sea is so salty that swimmers float effortlessly, and its minerals have been prized for thousands of years for their supposed healing properties. The contrast between the peaks of Everest and the depths of the Dead Sea reveals the vast vertical range of our planet. High-altitude environments often create bizarre adaptations in nature as well. In the Andes, llamas and alpacas thrive where oxygen levels are low, while in the Himalayas, snow leopards silently stalk prey in steep, icy cliffs. Even plant life has found ways to endure these extremes. The Puya Ramondi, a giant flowering plant found in the Peruvian and Bolivian Andes, grows for nearly a century before producing a towering bloom up to 10 meters tall. High places also shape human imagination. For centuries, mountains were believed to be the homes of gods, spirits, or ancestors. Mount Olympus in Greece was said to be the dwelling place of the ancient gods, while Mount Fuji in Japan remains a sacred symbol of beauty strength, and harmony. These peaks inspire not only myths, but also art, poetry, and spiritual reflection. From the highest peaks to the deepest valleys, geography shows us just how extreme Earth can be. High-altitude landscapes test both nature and humanity, offering breathtaking views, but also immense challenges. They remind us that Earth is not flat and simple, but layered and dramatic, filled with places where life pushes the limits of survival. In the next part, we will descend from these high places and explore Earth's deserts and dry wonders lands of sand, stone, and silence that hold their own remarkable secrets. After journeying across the highest mountains and plateaus, let us now descend into a world that feels like the opposite Earth's deserts. These arid landscapes may appear empty at first glance, but they hold some of the most surprising and fascinating geography on our planet. Their vast silence, shifting sands, and unusual ecosystems make them feel almost otherworldly, as though each desert were a hidden planet within our own Earth. We begin with the Sahara, the largest hot desert in the world, stretching across 11 countries in North Africa, covering about 9.2 million square kilometers. It is nearly the size of the United States or the entire continent of Europe. Contrary to popular belief, the Sahara is not just endless dunes. In fact, only about 25% of it is covered in sand seas known as ergs. The rest consists of rocky plateaus, gravel plains, mountains, and even ancient dried-up riverbeds. Some peaks, like Mount Imikusi in Chad, rise above 3,000 meters, showing that deserts can be as rugged and varied as any other landscape. And while deserts are often seen as lifeless, the Sahara holds a surprising secret. It was once green. Thousands of years ago, during a period known as the African Humid Era, the region was covered with lakes, rivers, and vegetation. Rock art found in caves shows giraffes, hippos, and even swimming humans, a reminder that climates shift dramatically over time. Today, dust storms from the Sahara travel across the Atlantic Ocean, fertilizing the Amazon rainforest with vital nutrients, an extraordinary connection between two ecosystems separated by thousands of kilometers. Moving to Asia, we encounter the Gobi Desert, one of the harshest places on Earth. Spanning parts of Mongolia and northern China, it is known not for sand dunes, but for its barren expanses of rock and gravel. Temperatures in the Gobi swing dramatically, from freezing winters to scorching summers. Yet it is rich in history. This desert was part of the ancient Silk Road, where caravans once transported silk, spices, and ideas between East and West. The Gobi is also famous for paleontology. Some of the first dinosaur eggs ever discovered were found here, buried in its windswept terrain. Another remarkable desert is the Atacama in northern Chile, often described as the driest non-polar desert in the world. Certain weather stations in the Atacama have recorded decades without measurable rainfall. The soil here is so dry that it has been compared to the surface of Mars, and NASA has even tested rovers in this desert before sending them to the Red Planet. Coastal fogs, known as camanchacas, sometimes bring enough moisture for specialized plants to survive. And once in a rare while, the desert blooms in a spectacular event called the Desertal Florido. when colorful flowers carpet the barren land after unexpected rains. In North America, the Mojave Desert offers another perspective. It is home to the famous Death Valley in California, the hottest place on Earth ever recorded. In July 1913, temperatures reached a blistering 56.7 degrees Celsius or 134 degrees Fahrenheit. Yet, even here, life endures. The desert hosts the hardy Joshua tree, a plant so iconic that it lends its name to Joshua Tree National Park. The Mojave also connects with human history. Native American tribes adapted to its challenging environment long before modern roads crossed its sands. The Arabian Desert, stretching across the Arabian Peninsula, is another vast expanse of sand and stone. Within it lies the Rub el Khali, or empty quarter, the largest continuous sand desert in the world. Its dunes can rise up to 250 meters high, and crossing them is an ordeal of endurance. This region has been central to trade, culture, and even luxury, as oil reserves beneath its sands reshaped the global economy in the 20th century. Today, cities like Dubai and Riyadh rise on the edges of the desert, symbols of modern development amidst ancient, arid landscapes. Australia, too, has its share of deserts. The Great Victoria Desert and the Simpson Desert are vast, remote, and strikingly colorful. The Simpson is famous for its parallel sand dunes, some stretching, unbroken, for hundreds of kilometers. Indigenous Australians have lived in and around these deserts for thousands of years, carrying with them rich dreamtime stories that connect landscapes, spirits, and survival. These oral traditions highlight how deserts are not wastelands, but living environments filled with meaning. Interestingly, not all deserts are hot. Antarctica and the Arctic are considered cold deserts because they receive so little precipitation. Antarctica is, in fact, the largest desert on Earth, with an area of about 14 million square kilometers. Its icy surface may not look like a desert, but its dryness, wind, and harsh conditions fit the definition perfectly. Beneath its frozen surface, scientists have even found hidden lakes and microbial life that suggest resilience in the most extreme environments. Deserts often create surreal landscapes that capture human imagination. Take Namibia's Namib Desert, one of the oldest deserts in the world, where towering orange-red dunes meet the Atlantic Ocean. The sight of sand flowing directly into the sea is almost dreamlike. The Skeleton Coast, with its shipwrecks and whale bones scattered across the shore, feels like a place between worlds. Similarly, in Bolivia, the Salar de Uyuni, the world's largest salt flat, creates a mirror effect after rainfall, where sky and earth seem to merge in infinite reflection. Despite their dryness, deserts are places of remarkable culture and resilience. Nomadic peoples, such as the Tuareg in the Sahara or the Bedouins in the Middle East, have long learned how to navigate these vast expanses using stars, oases, and oral traditions passed through generations. Their survival strategies and deep connection to the land offer insights into human adaptability. And beyond survival, deserts inspire art, poetry, and spiritual reflection. The stillness of a desert night, the clarity of its starlit sky, and the silence broken only by shifting sands create a sense of timelessness. It is no surprise that deserts are often seen as places of vision and transformation. From the prophets of ancient texts to the modern traveler seeking solitude. Deserts, then, are not empty. They are vast archives of history, culture, and natural wonder. From the burning sands of the Sahara to the icy winds of Antarctica, they reveal the extremes of Earth's geography. What seems barren is often filled with hidden stories, some carved into stone, others carried on the wind, and many still waiting to be discovered. In the next part, we will leave behind deserts and turn toward Earth's extraordinary coastlines where land meets sea, and cultures thrive at the edge of continents. The meeting place of land and sea is one of Earth's most fascinating frontiers. Coastlines are where cultures flourish, economies thrive, and natural wonders shape some of the most breathtaking landscapes on the planet. From rugged cliffs to gentle sandy shores, coastlines are far more than simple borders. They are places of constant change, where tides, waves, and human history all come together in a rhythmic dance that has defined civilizations for thousands of years. Let us begin with the country that has the longest coastline in the world, Canada, stretching more than 202,000 kilometers. Canada's coastline is longer than the combined coastlines of every other country on Earth. This immense edge touches 3 oceans: the Atlantic, the Pacific, and the Arctic. It is dotted with fjords, inlets, islands, and bays, many of them remote and untouched by large populations. The vastness of this coastline plays an essential role in Canada's economy and culture, from fishing industries to Arctic exploration and maritime heritage. Norway, too, is famous for its extraordinary coastline, carved by glaciers into deep fjords that cut far inland. The Geirangerfjord and Enkrafjord are UNESCO World Heritage Sites, where towering cliffs plunge dramatically into narrow waters. These fjords attract global tourism, offering not just natural beauty, but also a glimpse into how nature's slow sculpting creates some of Earth's most dramatic scenery. In contrast, the Maldives presents a very different coastline, low, flat, and fragile. This island nation in the Indian Ocean consists of more than 1,000 coral islands, forming atolls that barely rise above sea level. Its beaches are famous for their white sand and turquoise waters, a magnet for luxury travel and tourism. Yet, these coastlines are also at risk, as rising sea levels threaten to reshape or even submerge parts of the Maldives. It is a striking reminder of how coastlines are always in flux, shaped both by natural forces and human activity. Australia's coastline is equally iconic. The Great Barrier Reef, stretching for over 2,300 kilometers along Queensland's coast, is the largest coral reef system in the world. It is so vast that it can be seen from space. Beyond its natural wonder, it is a key part of global tourism, marine biodiversity, and even Australia's national identity. To the south, the 12 Apostles, a series of limestone stacks rising from the ocean along the Great Ocean Road, create one of the world's most photographed coastal landscapes. Some coastlines tell stories of power and danger. Cape Horn, at the southern tip of South America, is notorious for its violent storms and treacherous seas. Before the Panama Canal opened in 1914, ships traveling between the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans had to round this perilous cape. Today, it remains a symbol of the challenges that seafarers have faced across centuries. Asia also offers astonishing coastlines, such as those of Thailand and Vietnam. Thailand's Phong Nga Bay, with its limestone karsts rising dramatically out of emerald green waters, feels almost like a natural sculpture garden. In Vietnam, Ha Long Bay, another UNESCO World Heritage Site, features over 1,600 islands and islets, forming one of the most surreal and enchanting coastlines in the world. These places combine geology, culture, and tourism, bringing together people from across the globe who seek both beauty and peace. The Mediterranean, long a cradle of civilization, is home to coastlines steeped in history. The rocky coasts of Greece, with their hidden coves and ancient ruins, echo with myths of gods and heroes. The Amalfi Coast in Italy, with its colorful villages clinging to cliffs, blends culture, luxury, tourism, and dramatic geography. These coastlines are more than landscapes. They are living museums where history, cuisine, and natural beauty are intertwined. Meanwhile, Africa's coastlines reveal both diversity and extremes. Namibia's Skeleton Coast is one of the most haunting in the world, where the desert meets the Atlantic in a landscape of shipwrecks, whalebones, and fog. Its starkness contrasts with places like Zanzibar in Tanzania, where spice trade history mingles with coral reefs and sandy beaches that attract travelers from every continent. The United States, with its diverse geography, also showcases vastly different coastlines. The cliffs of Big Sur in California create a dramatic meeting of mountains and sea, while Florida's Keys stretch like a necklace of islands into warm, tropical waters. On the East Coast, Cape Cod and Maine's rocky shores offer another character tied deeply to maritime culture and economy. And let us not forget coastlines shaped by ice. Greenland's coasts, fringed with glaciers, send icebergs drifting into the North Atlantic, some of which eventually make their way far south. These icy coastlines are awe-inspiring, but also fragile. As warming temperatures accelerate the melting of Greenland's ice sheeton, event with global consequences for sea level rise and coastal cities worldwide. Even small nations sometimes boast extraordinary coastal treasures. Monaco, one of the smallest countries on Earth, is perched along the Mediterranean with just 4.4 kilometers of coastline. Yet it has become synonymous with luxury travel, yachts, and international tourism, showing how even tiny strips of coast can shape global identity. Coastlines also play a crucial role in human settlement and economy. Nearly half of the world's population lives within 200 kilometers of the coast. Ports, trade routes, and tourism industries thrive along these edges of land and sea. From the bustling harbors of Singapore to the cultural seafronts of Rio de Janeiro, coastlines serve as gateways of connection between people, nations, and continents. Perhaps what makes coastlines so enchanting is their constant transformation. Beaches erode and rebuild. Cliffs collapse, and islands appear or disappear. They are reminders that Earth is not static, but alive, always reshaping itself at the boundary where land meets water. In our next part, we will leave the shore and journey inland again, exploring the world's rivers, the flowing lifelines of continents that have nourished civilizations since the dawn of time. Rivers have always been more than just channels of water. They are storytellers of landscapes, sculptors of valleys, and carriers of life itself. Across continents, rivers have shaped civilizations, nourished ecosystems, and connected distant cultures. When we trace the path of a river, we are also tracing the story of humanity, economy, and nature moving together in rhythm. Let us begin with the Nile, perhaps the most famous river in history, stretching over 6,650 kilometers. Before reaching its broad delta in Egypt and emptying into the Mediterranean Sea, ancient Egyptian civilization was entirely dependent on the Nile's seasonal flooding, which fertilized the surrounding land with nutrient-rich silt. Temples, cities, and pyramids rose along its banks, creating one of the world's earliest great civilizations. Even today, the Nile remains vital to agriculture, trade, and tourism in the region. The Amazon River in South America rivals the Nile in length, though it surpasses every river in terms of volume. It discharges more water into the ocean than the next 7 largest rivers combined. The Amazon basin is home to the world's largest rainforest, often called the lungs of the planet. Here, countless species of plants and animals live in an intricate web of biodiversity, much of which remains undiscovered. For travelers, the Amazon represents both adventure and education, a place where ecology, culture, and natural wonder converge. In Asia, the Ganges holds a special place. Beyond being a river of geography, it is a river of spirituality. Flowing from the Himalayas to the Bay of Bengal, it is considered sacred in Hinduism. Millions of people depend on the Ganges for water, agriculture, and transportation, while millions more make pilgrimages to bathe in its waters. Despite challenges with pollution, the Ganges remains a powerful symbol of life and renewal in South Asia. Europe's Danube tells another story, one of connection. Flowing through 10 countries, from Germany's Black Forest to the Black Sea, it has long been a corridor of culture and commerce. Along its banks lie cities like Vienna, Budapest, and Belgrade, with its own blend of architecture, music, and history. The Danube has been celebrated in poetry, music, and art, embodying Europe's cultural richness. River cruises today allow travelers to experience its landscapes at a soothing pace, where history and luxury come together. North America's Mississippi River is equally iconic. At over 3,700 kilometers, it has shaped the culture and economy of the United States for centuries. It was a critical route for trade and transport, and it remains central to shipping agricultural goods. Mark Twain immortalized it in his stories, making the Mississippi a symbol of exploration, freedom, and the American experience. Its meandering path through the heartland is as much cultural as geographical. The Mekong River in Southeast Asia is another extraordinary lifeline. Flowing from Tibet through China, Laos, Thailand, Cambodia, and Vietnam, it sustains tens of millions of people. Its fisheries provide one of the richest sources of freshwater fish in the world, while its fertile plains are essential for rice production. At the same time, its dramatic landscapes, such as the Cone Falls in Laos, attract travelers eager to experience both culture and nature. Africa's Congo River, the second largest in volume after the Amazon, runs through dense rainforest and carries immense power. It is home to the world's second largest tropical forest, which rivals the Amazon in importance for global ecology. Its rapids and waterfalls make it less navigable than other rivers, but they also create breathtaking spectacles of natural energy. The Inga Falls on the Congo is one of the most powerful waterfalls on Earth, with vast potential for hydroelectric energy. The Yangtze, China's longest river, weaves together culture, economy, and modern technology. Stretching more than 6,300 kilometers, it flows through some of China's most densely populated regions. It is central to agriculture, transportation, and industry. The construction of the Three Gorges Dam, the largest hydroelectric dam in the world, showcases the interplay of technology, economy, and nature along this river. Yet the Yangtze also carries history, as ancient cities and cultural traditions still thrive along its banks. In Russia, the Volga River, known as the Mother Volga, has long been the lifeblood of the country. At over 3,500 kilometers, it is Europe's longest river. Flowing into the Caspian Sea, its basin supports much of Russia's population and industry, and it has played a crucial role in history, culture, and literature. It remains deeply symbolic in Russian identity, often appearing in folk songs and art. Some rivers are more unusual, like the Jordan River in the Middle East. Though modest in length, it has immense cultural and religious significance. It is associated with biblical events and remains a site of pilgrimage for millions each year. This is a reminder that a river's influence cannot be measured only by size, but also by the meaning it carries for people. Rivers also shape landscapes in dramatic ways. The Colorado River carved the Grand Canyon, one of the world's most awe-inspiring natural wonders. Over millions of years, its waters sculpted the layered rock into a masterpiece of geology and beauty, attracting travelers from around the world to marvel at its immensity. In Iceland, glacial rivers create surreal landscapes of braided channels and black sand deltas. They constantly shift, reshaping the land in intricate patterns visible from above, like nature's own artwork. These rivers remind us that water is always in motion, always transforming the world. What all these rivers share is their role as lifelines. They connect people to one another, sustain economies, and nurture ecosystems. They are places of travel, culture, and inspiration. From the mighty Amazon to the small but sacred Jordan, rivers remain vital threads in the tapestry of Earth's geography. In the next part, we will turn our attention to the world's deserts, vast, arid lands that may appear lifeless at first glance, but are filled with surprising stories of adaptation, culture, and beauty. Deserts are often thought of as empty spaces, but in truth, they are landscapes full of mystery, resilience, and extraordinary beauty. These vast stretches of sand, rock, and dry earth cover about 1/3 of our planet's land surface. While they may appear lifeless at first glance, deserts are home to unique ecosystems, ancient cultures, and some of the most dramatic scenery in the world. The Sahara Desert in Africa is the largest hot desert on Earth, spanning an area nearly the size of the United States. Its endless dunes, some rising higher than skyscrapers, create a landscape that feels otherworldly. But the Sahara has not always been dry. Thousands of years ago, it was a green land filled with rivers, lakes, and animals such as elephants and giraffes. Rock paintings, still visible today, show scenes of swimming and hunting, proving that human life once flourished here. Climate shifts gradually transformed it into the vast desert we know now. Though, even today, nomadic groups continue to call the Sahara home. In contrast, the Gobi Desert of Mongolia and northern China is a cold desert, known as much for its icy winters as its arid expanses. The Gobi is famous for being part of the ancient Silk Road, where caravans of merchants traveled carrying silk, spices, and treasures between east and west. It is also a treasure trove for paleontologists, as dinosaur fossils have been unearthed here, including some of the first dinosaur eggs ever discovered. The Gobi is a reminder that deserts are not only about sand, but also about history, culture, and science. The Atacama Desert in Chile is perhaps the driest place on Earth. Some parts of it have not received measurable rainfall for centuries. Despite this, life finds a way. Certain plants and microorganisms survive by extracting moisture from fog that drifts in from the Pacific Ocean. The Atacama is also one of the best places on Earth for stargazing, thanks to its clear skies and lack of light pollution. Astronomers from around the world use observatories here to peer deep into the universe. Travelers are drawn not just by its alien landscapes, but also by the rare opportunity to see the night sky as it truly is. Australia's Great Victoria Desert is another remarkable place. Stretching across thousands of kilometers, it is a land of red sand dunes, salt lakes, and sparse vegetation. Indigenous Australians have lived here for tens of thousands of years, developing deep cultural knowledge of the land and its survival strategies. Their connection to the desert shows how culture and geography intertwine, turning even the harshest landscapes into home. In the United States, the Mojave Desert is iconic for its Joshua trees, its wide open skies, and its connection to American culture. Las Vegas, a city of luxury and tourism, rises like an oasis in the Mojave, showing the striking contrast between human innovation and natural aridity. The desert also holds protected areas such as Death Valley, where some of the hottest temperatures ever recorded on Earth have been measured. Yet, in spring, wildflowers sometimes bloom, transforming the desert into a field of color. Another famous desert, the Kalahari in southern Africa, is not as barren as it might seem. While dry, it is home to grasses, shrubs, and wildlife such as lions, meerkats, and antelope. Indigenous Sand people have thrived here for generations, developing ways to find water and food in this challenging environment. The Kalahari shows us that deserts can be places of surprising vitality. The Arabian Desert, covering much of the Arabian Peninsula, has been central to the history of trade and travel. Caravans once carried goods across its sands, while cities like Riyadh, Dubai, and Abu Dhabi now thrive on its edges. Oil reserves discovered beneath this desert reshaped the global economy in the 20th century, demonstrating how even seemingly desolate lands can hold immense value. Deserts are also places of natural wonders. The Namib Desert in Namibia is one of the oldest deserts on Earth, with dunes that glow orange under the sun. Its famous skeleton coast, littered with shipwrecks, offers a haunting yet beautiful landscape. Despite its aridity, unique plants, like the Welwitschia mirabilis, thrive here, some living for over 1,000 years. Tourists travel from across the world to experience the Namib's surreal beauty. In Central Asia, the Karakum and Kizilkum deserts stretch across Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, and Kazakhstan. These lands have long been crossroads for nomadic tribes and ancient empires. Even today, travelers along the old Silk Road encounter deserts that feel unchanged by time, with vast horizons that inspire reflection and awe. Deserts also teach us about resilience. Animals such as camels, scorpions, and fennec foxes have evolved extraordinary ways to adapt to scarce water and extreme heat. Plants like cacti store moisture and protect themselves with spines. Human cultures, too, have found ingenious ways to survive, from constructing oases to trading across great distances. But deserts are not static. They grow, shift, and change. The process of desertification, when fertile land becomes dry, and barren is an environmental challenge faced by many regions today. Understanding deserts is not only about marveling at their beauty, but also about learning how to live sustainably in fragile ecosystems. In their silence and vastness, deserts offer more than geography. They are places where the mind can wander, where the landscape itself feels like a meditation. From the fiery dunes of the Sahara to the icy winds of the Gobi, deserts remind us of Earth's extremes and of the resilience required to thrive within them. In the next part, we will turn our gaze upward to Earth's skies and weather systems, exploring how wind, storms, and climate patterns shape our world in fascinating and sometimes surprising ways. After walking through deserts where silence and resilience reign, it feels only natural to look upward, the skies, the weather, and the intricate dance of climate that shapes life on Earth. For as vast as our mountains, seas, and deserts may be, this invisible ocean of air not only shelters us, but also drives storms, seasons, and the rhythms of life itself. The first thing to remember about Earth's atmosphere is its fragility. If Earth were the size of a basketball, our breathable air layer would be thinner than the skin of an apple. Yet, within this delicate envelope lies the power to carve landscapes, sustain ecosystems, and dictate the course of human history. Winds sculpt dunes, rains carve valleys, and storms remind us of nature's immense force. One of the most fascinating phenomena in our skies is the jet stream. These fast-moving ribbons of air, flowing high above the Earth, can reach speeds of over 300 kilometers per hour. They influence weather patterns across entire continents, steering storms and shaping climates. Pilots sometimes rely on them to reduce travel time, shaving hours off long international flights. The existence of jet streams shows the interconnectedness of travel, technology, and nature, how human movement is guided by invisible winds. Another remarkable feature is the monsoon, a seasonal wind system that brings life-giving rains to regions such as South Asia, West Africa, and parts of Australia. In India, the summer monsoon is essential to agriculture, economy, and culture, feeding the crops that sustain millions. Festivals celebrate its arrival, while families prepare for months of heavy rain. The monsoon is both a blessing and a challenge, capable of flooding cities, even as it nourishes fields. Storms reveal the atmosphere's power in more dramatic ways. Hurricanes, or typhoons, as they are called in the Pacific, form over warm ocean waters, spinning with winds that can exceed 250 kilometers per hour. They reshape coastlines, test infrastructures, and remind us of the balance between human construction and natural force. At the same time, their swirling satellite images are strangely beautiful, great spirals that echo the movements of galaxies far beyond Earth. Lightning is another wonder, both fearsome and awe-inspiring. A single bolt can heat the air to temperatures hotter than the surface of the sun. It illuminates the sky in flashes that have inspired myths and legends in every culture. The crack of thunder, rolling through valleys and cities alike, connects us all to the raw energy of nature. Then there are the gentler, more subtle phenomena. The northern and southern light, Aurora Borealis and Aurora Australis, turn the polar skies into curtains of green, purple, and red, caused by solar particles colliding with Earth's magnetic field. These displays have long been sources of wonder and mystery. Travelers venture into Arctic regions, from Norway to Canada, to witness them, blending tourism, culture, and science into unforgettable experiences. Rainbows, too, remind us of nature's artistry, formed by sunlight refracting through raindrops. They appear universal, yet fleeting, a gentle promise of beauty after storms. Cultures across the world have woven rainbows into stories and symbols. From bridges between worlds to emblems of hope. Weather is not only a matter of beauty, but also of survival and adaptation. The Sahara's hot winds influence Europe's climate, while the Pacific Ocean's El Niño and La Niña events can change rainfall patterns across the globe, affecting agriculture, economies, and even political stability. These shifts remind us that no country stands alone. Our climates are part of a global web. Some places experience weather so extreme that they become famous for it. Death Valley in the United States holds the record for some of the hottest temperatures on Earth, while Antarctica, covered in ice, remains the coldest place, with temperatures dropping below -80 degrees Celsius. Meanwhile, Mausinerum in India is considered the wettest inhabited place, receiving over 11 meters of rain annually, while the Atacama Desert remains almost rainless. These contrasts highlight Earth's diversity and its endless capacity to surprise. Culture and economy often adapt to weather in fascinating ways. Ski resorts flourish in snowy Alps and Rockies, driving tourism and luxury industries. Tropical islands with gentle trade winds attract travelers seeking beaches and leisure. Wine regions depend on subtle balances of rainfall and sunshine, making climate central to agriculture and luxury markets alike. Weather also creates traditions. In Japan, cherry blossoms bloom with the arrival of spring, celebrated through centuries-old festivals. In Northern Europe, the long summer days are welcomed with midsummer celebrations, while in colder climates, the first snow often marks cultural milestones and seasonal rituals. Weather weaves into human life, from daily choices to national identities. Technology has deepened our relationship with the sky. Satellites now monitor weather across the globe, offering predictions that save lives and guide economies. Storm trackers warn coastal communities, while farmers rely on forecasts to plan harvests. Aviation, tourism, and global trade depend on the ability to understand and navigate the atmosphere's moods, even as we marvel at weather's beauty. We rely on education and technology to live with its challenges. Finally, climate reminds us of Earth's delicate balance. While weather shifts daily, climate is the long story written across centuries and millennia. Ice ages once covered continents in glaciers, carving valleys and shaping rivers. Warm periods opened new lands to travel and agriculture. Today, we face the reality of changing climates once again, prompting questions about sustainability, responsibility, and the future of our shared home. And yet, even as we contemplate these challenges, the skies remind us of wonder. The golden hues of sunrise, the calm of twilight. The stars scattered across a clear night hall are invitations to pause, to breathe, and to connect with the world. They are the gentle closing notes of Earth's geography, as if the planet itself whispers goodnight. With this, we conclude our journey through countries, oceans, mountains, deserts, and skies. 45 facts woven into stories of culture, travel, nature, and history have shown us the richness of our planet. As you drift toward rest, may these landscapes linger in your imagination, like a peaceful dream of Earth's incredible geography.